Casey Joyner, ESPN.com, NFL insider. Also covers the WWE for them now, their new WWE site. Sure we'll get a couple thoughts on the massacre we saw last night at SummerSlam. But, Casey, a lot of football stuff. I was off last week. Whenever I'm off, it seems like the Eagles seem like they want to make a lot of interesting moves. So I'll start with the first move they made while I was gone, which was trading for Dorial Green-Beckham, and get your input on what kind of player this guy could be. And we know he's a knucklehead. We know he's had some off-the-field problems. But did the Eagles get a steal, or do you think this guy just too much hype?
Oh, hey, if he plays up to his talent level, it's definitely a steal. I'll give you a number here. I rate cornerbacks by how well, a number of different coverage metrics, and I rate them according to color categories. So, like, really good cornerbacks are red-rated. You don't want to throw at them. Okay ones are yellow-rated. When Dorial Green-Beckham faced a red or a yellow-rated cornerback last year, he averaged 10 yards per attempt, which is a really good number. That's almost twice as high as the red and yellow cornerbacks will generally tend to give up. So he has the capacity to be the kind of matchup guy who you want as a receiver if he'll play to that level. It's just, can you get him to play to that level at a consistent basis?
What has been, I know he's a rookie, 32 catches last year, had a pretty good yards per catch average there. What are some of his major problems in his young career?
Well, you said he was a knucklehead, so that's a good place to start. If you're looking at it from an on-field perspective, though, he's terrible on short passes. He did a horrible job last year. He didn't catch that many. He wasn't throwing that many short passes. He doesn't do well there, and I think that, maybe reading a bit into this, that if you're going to send a lot of passes his way, he's probably going to be a guy who wants to step up for a time. But if you don't start throwing passes his way, making the centerpiece for your offense, I think he kind of, he scales his effort level back. So it's really just a matter of getting him to play at a certain level. And the thing is, he's at an age where immaturity might be a factor, and if you can work around that, which is a factor you run into with a lot of players at his age, if that's what it is, then hey, give it a year or two, and this will pan out really well for the Eagles.
You think he's a good fit for a Andy Reid, Doug Peterson type of offense?
He's a vertical threat. That's a good fit in any offense.
17 yards a catch last year. Casey Joyner, ESPN.com, is with us here. We get your take on Stephen Tulloch, 31, no Schwartz, pretty well. How's he fit with Jim Schwartz? Obviously, they know each other well. Do you think that's a sneaky good signing, 1 year, $3 million for Philly?
Yeah, it's a sneaky good signing, and it reminds me, I'm going to go back a little old school here, when Bill Walsh signed a guy named Hacksaw Reynolds. Hacksaw Reynolds only played for the 49ers with Walsh for a couple of years, but he was a guy who was that kind of a veteran presence who could show the other players, here's what you do in this system. He could make sure that you didn't have the miscommunications and things of that nature, because a lot of times on defense, it's a matter of being where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be there. I think this will be, that team went to the Super Bowl and things. I'm not saying that's what the Eagles will do, but I think this is that kind of move. A veteran guy comes in, knows the system, can help the other players learn the system and be where they're supposed to be, when they're supposed to be there. And if he does just that and can help the other players eliminate mistakes, it's a real good move.
It's interesting because they had some talent. Hicks, kind of an enigma. Don't know what he will be. The short time he played was pretty good. Kendricks just can't seem to be on the field. A lot of mixed reviews. Very talented, but some people like his talent. Some people think he's a little overrated. And then you've got Nigel Bradham in here. You wonder where Tulloch, if he's in the middle, what does that mean for Hicks and Kendricks? Because it seems like those are the two guys that everybody has questions about.
Yeah, I think I don't think right now there is a perfect fit situation for this whole group. I think it's a matter of you're going to have to. I think it's going to be a trial by fire where you put the guys in certain positions. That's where I think Tulloch, having him out there, is he can help the other guys do what they're supposed to do and be where they're supposed to be in coverage and then the run fits and such. I think that's a big thing because there aren't any perfect fits in that entire setup you just mentioned there. And if there's not perfect fits, then the idea is get people there really at least can make the plays physically and get them to be where they're supposed to be. So I think this is going to be a work in progress for a while.
All right, Casey Joyner is with us. I want to get your take on Carlos Williams real fast. He passed through waivers, another knucklehead. But the Eagles need some running back help. Would he be a fit?
Again, it depends on can you get him to play at the level that he's capable of playing at, because Carlos Williams, he did a really good job last year in my good blocking yards per attempt category. It measures how productive a back is when you give him Carlos Williams had a 10.4 good blocking yards per attempt. If you're in double digits, you're in elite territory. And he did it on a fairly high number for a fairly solid rushing attempt, 93 rushing attempts. So it was a fairly decent number. So it's not like that was an anomaly that he did in like just 10 plays. So he has that type of capability, but when you eat your way out of the league, you're probably not going to get a double-digit good blocking yards per attempt. So lose the weight, he can get back there.
Yeah, and Carlos Williams suspended, went unclaimed. He's now an unrestricted free agent. And as you kind of mentioned, the thought is that he gained about 30 pounds. He was pretty good last year, 9 touchdowns as a rookie. When McCoy went down, he really came in there and took over. Some people thought he might even play better than McCoy last year.
Yeah, he did, and again, you can't put up those kinds. They scored 9 touchdowns. I mean, the guy was really, really productive, and it's just a matter of some guys can't handle being at that next level for that period of time. They could do it, initially, and then they can't stay there. But if he can get his motivation back and lose weight, he's still in an age too where you can drop that kind of weight and probably not be long-term impacted by it like you can if you gain that kind of weight when you're a little bit older. So if they can get him to lose the weight, whoever can sign him and do that, yeah, you can still get, even if he dropped a yard or two of the good blocking yards per attempt, you're still talking a quality back.
A lot of interesting stuff around the NFL. Do the Cowboys finally have a backup?
Well, do you want to compare it just to last year, or are we talking a backup overall?
I mean, I know people, it's funny. When it's convenient for people, they use the preseason. When they don't want to credit teams, they say, well, you can't look at the preseason. They go back to Bradford's game against Green Bay last year. And then the same person would say, oh, I think they got something with this Prescott here. I mean, he's running around against, second and third and fourth team guys, but are you impressed enough to say, you know what, maybe they finally have found a suitable backup?
He was impressive in college. I mean, it's some of what you saw when he was in college. So, I mean, can that translate over? If you look at what he did metrically speaking in a lot of different ways, he was a very he could hit big plays, and he can also be a very high percentage player. So do I think that can translate to the NFL? Yeah, he'd have. Let's put it this way. Romo goes down. We talked about this last year with these other quarterbacks, and it's amazing that the Cowboys have this fantastic offensive line. They have a good running game. Dez Bryant, when he was healthy, you've got some quality vertical threats. So it's like you've got that much around a quarterback. You even just get an average replacement-level quarterback with that much talent around him. You ought to be able to stay competitive. So I think Prescott can be at the least a replacement-level quarterback and probably better than that. I don't know if he's going to be what he is right now in the preseason, but his college metrics and the way he looked on tape, yeah, he could be that type of player.
Yeah, it's interesting because you see these guys who are in these spread offenses in college, and teams want to kind of shy away from them. But sometimes, if you're a talented guy, you're talented and you can translate to any system. And then on the flip side, you see a guy like Manziel who was talented, just his skill set did not translate to the NFL.
Part of Manziel's thing, too, was when you started looking at his tape at Texas A&M, you saw that a lot of his production was on passes to Mike Evans. And when you took the Mike Evans numbers out of the equation, Manziel had good numbers, maybe very good numbers in some cases, but not great numbers. He was not that guy. And so that was really a case where Manziel was probably served better by throwing to Mike Evans than anything else, whereas I think you're looking at a guy like Prescott. I think if you looked at his metrics, he probably had better production or quality production across a wider set of receivers than had with Manziel. So I would lean towards Prescott being a guy who's going to be better than, or he's going to have a better situation or a better result than Manziel did.
It looks like Mark Sanchez could be in trouble. Would you be surprised if he loses that battle to Trevor Siemian, who some people may never have heard of?
Well, the thing is Mark Sanchez has been out there, and look, he's got some problems. My kid can't see him without just saying words, oh, it's butt fumble. I mean, that's he doesn't even call him by his name. But, he's been out there. He's handled these situations, and handling this kind of situation in the preseason is not the same as handling it in the regular season. I don't know if I'm Denver that I want to put Siemian out there and hope that he doesn't collapse under the pressure. I know Sanchez at least, maybe he's going to make some mistakes, but I know he can make a certain volume of plays when he's out there, when it's live fire, we're talking, regular season action. So I don't know if I'm them that I would make that change unless they just think, wow, Sanchez has regressed. And if that's the case, then they won't have a choice, and that's going to be, it could be really bad for Denver.
Casey Joyner will be talking NFL throughout the season. You can follow him on Twitter at KCJoynerTFS and get his football stuff. He's also covering the WWE now for WWE on ESPN on Twitter as well. I got to ask you, man, what we saw from Brock Lesnar last night, was that real or was that a work?
Everybody seems to think that it was a hard way shot, where the hard way being that you didn't mean to give the guy a hit like that. You didn't mean to cut him like that. So it probably was a hard way shot, is what it looks like. So
that's a lot of blood, man. That's 10 staples to his head.
That's 10 staples. When Shane McMahon was getting F5 to the bottom there, I was thinking, man, your white T-shirt's going to get coated in that blood here if you don't watch yourself. I mean, it was.
Well,
you
would think, okay, after he cut his head open, that anything that was scripted after that, they might have halted for a while, but he was still laying meat hooks to him. It was uncomfortable to watch because, okay, this is where the people who say, it's fake. This is where that whole, is it really happening? Did he piss him off behind the scenes? That's where wrestling has that unique thing where, yeah, it's fake, but this kind of feels real. Like this guy just blew a gasket here.
Yeah, the thing is that you talk to wrestlers and they'll tell you that one of the toughest parts of the industry is that you're working with another guy and your well-being is in his hands. And if he messes up, it could be on. We saw that earlier in that show where Charlotte and
Sasha Banks.
Thank you, Sasha Banks, and they were trying that move where they were trying to drop Sasha across the ropes. And Sasha slipped and fell straight down. And who knows, that was just an accident and things. But you're hoping that another wrestler doesn't put you in a position where you're going to get hurt like that. And so the thing is, here's Orton getting his head busted open, and then and the guys at more shots are like, wow, you messed up one time, man. I hope you don't mess up again.
He was literally looking at him like, really, dude? You're still coming after me? You don't see the blood gushing out of my head? I mean, he was just bleeding profusely. It was really uncomfortable to watch, but, the rest of the card, it was pretty fun night. I think it's too long, 6 hours, my man. Woo! That's a long time to be sitting on the couch.
Even the show, I live East Coast, and my kids are big WWE fans, and we couldn't watch the whole show because it lasted so long. It's like, guys, you got to either start the show earlier if you want the kids to be able to see the whole show, because they didn't get to see Lesnar Orton. I had to tell them about it today, and they barely got to see Finn Balor, which is great to see Balor get the push that he did, but I'll bet there's some people who didn't get to see that because of how late it was.
Your kids are probably better off not watching Lesnar last night. That was some gory stuff, man. If you haven't seen it, you got to find the video. So, I mean, 10 staples to the man's head. Randy Orton's not a small man, but he just looked like defenseless, like completely just had nothing to do. I mean, just sitting there just taking blow after blow after blow while you're thinking to yourself, when is this going to stop? But, hey, there's where your whole suspension of disbelief kind of comes in. Kind of interesting stuff. And Casey Joyner and the guys over at ESPN are doing a good job covering the WWE now. So check out at WWE on ESPN for more on Twitter as well. Casey Joyner will have more on football throughout this football season here on the Sports Bash on 97.3. Always a pleasure, pal.
Appreciate it, man.